Welcome to another informative episode of Housing Development, your go-to source for housing trending information. Affordable, accessible housing is a global issue that is fundamental to a healthy population and a functional economy. One of the indices for assessing the level of economic growth of a nation is adequate housing. The role of housing in growth and development is so vital that government all over the world make provisions for adequate housing of her citizens. As the demand for affordable housing grows, Nigeria must change the way it addresses its affordable housing strategies. That said, let's see what is trending in the housing sector. As always, I am Flora Ani, your housing diva. I'll be back in a moment.
In view of the controversies trailing which agency of government has the authority to name streets and assign numbers to buildings in the Federal Capital Territory, experts have repeatedly stated that such prerogative rests entirely with the local government authorities, otherwise known as municipal area councils in the country's capital. The latest of such assertion was made by the immediate past national president of the Nigerian Institute of Town Planners, Town Planner Toyin Ayinde. Responding to salient issues in the built environment during an exclusive interview with Housing Development, Ayinde stated that the country's constitution, which is the ground norm, has conferred such authority on the local government, adding that it also grants the status of a state to the Federal Capital Territory.
The constitutional provision for naming of streets is that it lies in the purview of local governments.
The Housing Development Advocacy Network, HDAN, a non-governmental organization, has said land racketeering in the Federal Capital Territory, FCT, is putting huge investments by real estate developers at risk. The executive director of HDAN, Festus Adebayo, who spoke with journalists in Abuja, therefore called on the FCT minister, Malam Mohammed Bello, to declare a state of emergency on land in the territory. He said the master plan of the FCT is in disarray. It requires surgical operation, and the FCT minister must declare a state of emergency on the FCT urban planning system. So many damages have been done. The system is no more going in line with those who saw the vision of the FCT and gave the master plan. Adebayo alleged that staff of the Federal Capital Territory Administration (FCTA) and Federal Capital Development Authority (FCDA) are colluding with the racketeers to destroy the master plan and also fleece developers. As rescuers still pulled a lucky few from the rubble 6 days after a pair of earthquakes devastated southeast Turkey and northern Syria, Turkish officials detained or issued arrest warrants for some 130 people allegedly involved in the construction of buildings that toppled down and crushed their occupants. As despair also bred rage at the agonizingly slow rescue efforts, the focus turned to who was to blame for not better preparing people in the earthquake-prone region that includes an area of Syria that was already suffering from years of civil war. Even though Turkey has, on paper, construction codes that meet current earthquake engineering standards, they are too rarely enforced, explaining why thousands of buildings slumped onto their side or pancaked downward onto residents.
Housing News, do well to visit www.africanhousingnews.com. Public infrastructure assets are a foundation of a country's economic development. Maintaining such assets in good condition is critical in order to preserve both its heritage value and its capacity to provide the expected service. In this report coming up, it seeks to highlight the need for improved protection of public infrastructure. Let's have a look.
Every year, government at all levels invests billions of naira in a bid to build new infrastructural projects while strengthening new ones. As Nigerians continue to express their concerns over the adequacy or otherwise of capital expenditure for every fiscal year, the state of public infrastructure and the need to prioritize their adequate protection have been emphasized. Housing developments caught up with some critical stakeholders in the built environment and sought their assessment, particularly of the state of public infrastructure. How bad, really, is it?
If not something of the norm in Nigeria, the public crave for the development of new structures without taking ownership of what already exists. And people just go into with the idea that everything public is just not my own and you can handle or use it up anyhow. At the end of the day, anything that becomes wasteful that is public, it is another taxpayers' money which will have been directed and devoted for the development of new other facilities that will still be utilized to maintain. We have a very poor maintenance culture in this country.
I think while we have a challenge, roads are being destroyed, buildings, housing not in very good conditions of serviceability. National assets like forests are being also destroyed for all kinds of reasons. Even water bodies, these are all public assets. They are not optimally being maintained.
But how well have we managed and protected public assets as it stands today?
Government infrastructure the world over is the primary responsibility of government to deploy. But when it's been deployed, ownership should be taken by the people because we are the government.
Since the responsibility of protecting public infrastructure cannot be taken on by government alone, what more can be done in this regard?
We need to strengthen these institutions. The framework for the institution to actually carry out their function can still be enhanced and strengthened. All the laws and regulations required are on ground, but there is no capacity of carrying out the enforcement also. And I think that is what is lacking, and efforts, especially from the calls that we are getting from these regulatory agencies, will see to that. I think that is what we need in Nigeria.
This is how we develop, the only TV program that gives you the best information on houses. The need for the maintenance and protection of public infrastructures cannot be overemphasized. The program is housing development. I'll be handing over to Uyi Amomofegbe at this time for the guest of the week. Hello, Uyi.
Thank you, Diva. Have you ever wondered what standard practice should be in the construction industry? My guest this week is Chair of Practice, Nigerian Institute of Architects, FCT chapter. She provides insights into international best practices. Madam, it's a delight to have you on the program.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here today.
Great. Talk to us about the role of structure in putting buildings on the ground.
Yeah, thank you very much for that question. You see, for any building that that goes a suspended floor and above, you cannot carry out that building, the construction of that building without structures. Now, you can get away with having a bungalow or any of these buildings that are just one floor. But as long as you're going an upper floor, you have to have structural elements. And those structural elements include the reinforcements that are going to be used. It also includes the kind of concrete that is going to be used. And of course, for any construction job, any building to have all of that, you must have a structural engineer on that team that will direct and give you the quantities, in terms of the quantities and the ratios of some of these materials that are supposed to be used for such a structure. So if any building at all defaults on that, it's already a problem.
And that obviously explains where we are now. I mean, looking at the number of instances we've had regarding a building collapse. Let's talk about the value chain, as I'd like to call it. I mean, you've talked about those who should play what specific roles from the start of the structure till it gets finished. Just this morning, somebody mentioned how that there was even no signboard indicating who was playing what role at the site of the Gwarinpa collapsed building now. Doesn't that point to the fact that these problems are systemic in nature?
Yeah, indeed, they are. You see, construction anywhere in the world is regulated. That's one thing you must take home. It's regulated anywhere in the world, right now as we speak, in the world we live in. And in Nigeria, it's also regulated. And when you're talking of the regulation, it encompasses all the professionals who are involved in the building industry, right? You have the architects, you have the engineers, several engineers involved, you know, the structural engineers, electrical, mechanical, and all the other special fields. You have the planners, you have the quantity surveyors, you have land surveyors, etc. You know, so for a building to be formulated and then goes to the stage of construction, these professionals have to be involved. And if these professionals are not involved, it's an aberration.
Madam, thank you so much for coming to share all of these valuable insights with us on the program. I've been talking with architect Agatha Christie Rabo. She's the chair of practice, Nigerian Institute of Architects, Abuja chapter. That's what we're leaving it on this conversation. I'm Uyag Mofwegwe. I'll see you again shortly.
For a country like Nigeria, with so much insecurity issues, is it right to carry a rental background check on a potential tenant? A rental background check is a vital part of the tenant screening process. Its purpose is to take a deeper look at a rental applicant who might seem like the right fit on paper. Let's get Nigerians' reaction to this all-important topic.
Within the capacity, what they need to do is just to make a preliminary investigation to get one or two things from them. Most important, due to the security situation in the country, you ought to have asked the type of work the person does, where it's coming from, and the condition that you give him will determine how he's going to live within your house. But as a landlord, you have all the rights to eject him if he's not living to the way you want.
I think the security situation in Nigeria today truly calls for thorough investigations of individuals and especially tenants that are about to, move into a new apartment. Landlords have a lot to play. The landlord should not only put their interest in the gains because they have properties, they are interested in what you will pay before coming in. It shouldn't stop at that. They should do extra investigation of, trying to find out who you are, where are you coming from, your last destination, and then keep those records intact. And if possible, relate those records to security personnel of the community.
Landlords or caretakers should first and foremost ensure that they get the national identity cards, basic documentations. Basic documentation can help in doing background check, in getting proper information about them, national ID card or their voter's card or something. Then they can also sign legal documents, papers for the house. And due to the cost of the high rentage, agents can add something else for background check. Maybe like to go and get a police report or do a background investigation on such people. They should add little to what they are doing.
Any landlord who is actually aware of security issues, he must actually have to take that background check to know where that person is working, whether he's married, whether he's responsible. He must surely have to do that kind of background check before he will be able to admit any such person to his house.
You have a valid ID card of the person. You can't just, collect the money and put the person inside the house. So first of all, you collect the valid ID card. You know where the person is coming from, which state, which local government. You have all the details. You understand? If possible, you collect the next of kin. Understand? Or anybody that can stand as a guarantor for that person in case of anything, so that you can be able to contact that person.
Voices on the street there. When you're considering who to rent to, you should also think of it as who you are allowing into your building and your community. It is your responsibility to your community to choose tenants who don't put anyone at risk of harm. Requiring tenants authorize a background check also protects one as a landlord. You need to be sure that your tenant is responsible and not prone to rely on violence. Otherwise, you could be putting yourself in a risky situation too. Let's take a short break. I'll be back.
We don't have road. And you see, at times, if it is raining, you will see a lot of people will go by the roadside. They'll be thrown dirt on the main road. We also doesn't have toilet. You see a toilet, you will still up to 30 tenants. They are using one. You can't leave your door open, go and buy something. Before you will know, Babambola will enter. By the time you will take them to police station, 1 hour is too much. The police people will release them. In fact, we don't know what is happening.
This is the situation with many citizens in not just Nigeria. Are we ready for this conversation? What is the plight of an average Nigerian citizen in regards to housing? Housing is a fundamental human right, and these issues must be addressed.
Welcome back. Thanks for staying with me on housing development. The Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria recently commissioned 25 affordable housing units in Kuje, Abuja, and performed groundbreaking for the development of another 130 housing units, also in Abuja, to ensure more Nigerians have access to decent accommodation through affordable mortgage financing for low and middle income earners in the country. Let's have a look.
That is the national anthem, formally signaling the commencement of commissioning of 25 affordable housing units in Kuje and the groundbreaking ceremony for the development of another 130 housing units at Aviation Village off Airport Road in the Federal Capital Territory, financed by the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria, FMBN. The FMBN Abiskoli Housing Estates is for members of National Human Rights Commission Cooperative Society, while the FMBN Staff Cooperative Estate is for employees of the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria. The Managing Director of the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria, Madu Haman, said FMBN has continued to invest in mortgage-specific initiatives across the country.
The Federal Mortgage Bank has also continued to develop affordable mortgage products and housing development schemes in our efforts at exploring and expanding all angles to facilitate mortgage lending and home ownership to Nigerians. Our National Housing Fund mortgage loans, granted at 6%, is the most affordable housing loan or any loan you can get in the country presently.
Minister of State for Transportation, Prince Ademola Adegoroye, now unveils the project and cuts the tape.
Nigeria, Abiskali Housing Estate, was officially commissioned by the Honorable Minister of State for Transportation, Prince Ademola A. Adegoroye. On this day, Wednesday, the 8th day of February in the year 2023. Congratulations, Mr.
The chairman of the board of FMBN, represented by a non-executive director of the bank, Sandra Ejezie, used the opportunity to stress the bank's commitment to investing in affordable housing in Nigeria, using the cooperative society model as a vehicle to drive the vision.
The approval and disbursement of the loan for the project and the formal commissioning ceremony which we are witnessing today is an indication of the bank's genuine desire to continue to empower Nigerians in the area of ownership via affordable home construction and mortgage financing. This project is also a confirmation of the bank's commitment to the welfare and well-being of National Housing Fund contributors as a foundation of our commitment to continue to deepen ownership among Nigerian workers who are contributors to the NHF scheme.
Among highlights of the event was a presentation of award of appreciation to the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria for throwing its weight behind the estate project, which was received by the bank's MD.
On behalf of Abiskali Real Estate Developers Nigeria Limited, we hereby present this award of appreciation to the entire management and staff of Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria for the total support and achievement in the success of this project. Thank you very much.
Okay. On his part, the Executive Director, Loans and Mortgage Services, Lukman Mustafa, expressed delight that members of staff of FMBN can now heave a sigh of relief, knowing that they now have better access to improved housing. He further reiterated the bank's resolve to continue to prioritize the welfare of staff, thereby making the institution a great place to work. On the same day, the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria also held the groundbreaking ceremony of the Michel Atlantic City Estate at Aviation Village in the FCT.
So on this 8th day of February 2023, commence the groundbreaking of this estate in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
This is how we develop the only TV program that gives you the best information. Welcome back. Up next, our woman crush for the week. Who deserves to wear the crown today? Let's find out.
Our woman crush this Wednesday is none other than town planner Lami Ayuba. She is currently chairman of the Nigerian Institute of Town Planners, NITP, FCT chapter, the immediate past chairman, Association of Women Town Planners, FCT chapter, and member of various committees in the NITP. She has had her master's education in urban and regional planning from the Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria. As a result of her expertise and professionalism, town planner Lami Ayuba has been in the advocacy of planning, mainly in land dispute resolution, public enlightenment on town planning, representation of vulnerable persons affected by forced eviction and demolition threats, public enlightenment on land acquisition, approvals and development, amongst others. This extraordinary woman loves reading, baking, and cooking. Definitely a happily married woman. All of these amazing reasons and more has crowned town planner Lami Ayuba our woman crush this Wednesday.
I'm Bob Weinsheng, CEO of iBuild Global, and keep watching the Housing Development Program.
What does it mean to set the pace? It's a bold resolve to relentlessly pursue a vision. It's imbibing a culture of excellence. It's unhindered dedication to service, an insatiable thirst for the craft, and the courage to learn and relearn. Setting the pace is beyond four walls. It's beyond an industry. It's beyond numbers. It's building the future. We are setting the pace.
That is it on Housing Development Program today. Thanks for watching. If you missed any part of the program, you can catch up on the YouTube channel, Housing TV Africa. I remain your housing diva, Flora Annie. See you soon.